I was only 8 years old the last time I saw my mother. It was a cool spring morning, and the sunlight streamed softly through the kitchen window as she tied my shoes, humming the same lullaby she used to sing when I couldn't sleep. She smelled like lavender and fresh laundry, and her smile made everything feel safe. "I'll be back by dinner," she said, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear. She kissed my forehead, grabbed her coat, and walked out the door. That was the last moment we shared. When the sun dipped below the horizon and the porch light flickered on, I waited by the window and waited. Dinner turned cold on the table. My father paced the living room, trying not to show panic. By midnight, he called the police. The days that followed were a blur of search parties, flashing lights and hushed conversations behind closed doors. Her car was found abandoned near the edge of town, keys still in the ignition. There were no signs of struggle, no footprints, no notes, nothing, just emptiness. Neighbors whispered that she'd run away. Some suggested an affair. Others believed she had simply cracked under pressure. My father stopped talking about her. My relatives avoided the topic altogether. But I couldn't let it go. Something inside me refused to believe she had chosen to leave me behind. That memory, the warmth of her goodbye, the certainty in her voice, haunted me for years. Deep down, I knew there was more to the story, something hidden, something waiting to be found, and I promised myself that one day I would uncover the truth. It happened on an ordinary afternoon, the kind where you least expect your world to shift. I had returned to my childhood home after my grandmother passed away. The house was still filled with her scent, old books, rosewater, and time. I spent the day sorting through her things, deciding what to keep and what to let go. Then I climbed up into the attic, a place I hadn't visited since I was a child. Dust floated like glitter in the shafts of light, and cobwebs stretched across boxes labeled with fading handwriting. I wasn't looking for anything in particular, just memories, maybe closure. That's when I found the music box. It was small, wooden, and carved with delicate flowers. I didn't recognize it, but something about it drew me in. When I opened the lid, it played a soft melody I instantly remembered, my mother's favorite tune. Beneath the music mechanism, hidden under a false bottom, was an envelope. It was old and brittle, yellowed by time. My name was written on the front. Inside was a letter in my mother's handwriting. "My sweet child, if you're reading this, it means the truth has waited far too long. I didn't leave because I wanted to. I was forced to disappear, for your safety and mine." I knew I had to dig into the past, no matter where it led. I started in the attic, searching every box, every drawer, every forgotten corner of my grandmother's house. It didn't take long to find more. Old photographs tucked inside a worn-out Bible, receipts with unfamiliar names, and a small journal wrapped in silk. The journal was my mother's. Her handwriting filled its pages. Lists of names, strange addresses, and notes about meetings that had been cut short or moved at the last minute. One entry stood out. "He knows I found something. I saw him near the post office again. If anything happens to me, it wasn't an accident." My breath caught. Who was he? And what had she found? Desperate for answers, I turned to the people who might know. My family. First, I asked my father. He was sitting in the kitchen, staring at the coffee in his mug like it held the past. When I showed him the letter, his face went pale. "You shouldn't have found that," he muttered. "Let the dead rest." "But she might not be dead," I said firmly. "She was scared. She was hiding. You knew more than you ever told me." He didn't answer. He just stood up and walked away. I went to my uncle next, the one who had always been close to my mum. He stiffened the moment I brought up her name. "We all moved on," he said coldly. "You should too." But then came the breakthrough. In one of the boxes from the attic, I found an old photo. It was black and white, slightly torn at the edges. My mother stood next to another woman, young, smiling, and wearing a heart-shaped locket. I stared at it for a long time. The woman looked familiar. Then I remembered. A stranger had come to our house once when I was around 6. She didn't say much, but I remembered the locket. This had to be her, the woman with the locket, the one my mother said I could trust. My pulse quickened. I didn't have her name, but now I had a face. I scanned the back of the photo, and there it was, a scribbled note. To Anna, with love always, R. It was my mother's handwriting. Now I had a direction, a name, a reason to keep searching, and I knew the truth was closer than ever. It took weeks to find her. Armed with only the name Anna and a decades-old photo, I searched online databases, scanned local directories, and even visited libraries to comb through town records. Finally, a lead emerged. A woman named Anna R., living on the edge of a nearby county in a remote cabin surrounded by forest. She matched the age and profile. I packed a bag and drove out there the very next day. The road twisted through trees and fog, leading me to a quiet house nestled between tall pines. It looked untouched by time. Wooden shutters, a rusted mailbox, and flower pots lined with herbs. I hesitated before knocking. What if she didn't remember? What if she refused to talk? But the door opened before I could second guess. She stood there in a cardigan and jeans, her silver hair pulled back neatly. Around her neck, still shining after all these years, was the locket. "I was wondering when you'd find me," she said softly. Her eyes welled with tears. "You look just like her." Inside, the cabin felt warm and worn, filled with books, handmade quilts, and the scent of chamomile tea. She sat across from me and held my hands. "I was your mother's best friend. We grew up together. When she disappeared, I promised her I'd stay hidden until you came looking." My voice trembled. "What happened to her?" Anna took a long breath, then began. "Your mother discovered something she wasn't supposed to. Illegal land deals, money laundering, and corruption involving some very powerful people in town. She tried to warn others, but no one believed her. When she got too close, they threatened her, and you. That's when she decided to disappear, not because she wanted to leave you, but because she had no choice. She thought the only way to protect you was to vanish completely." Tears ran down my face as I tried to process it all. "She trusted me with one task," Anna continued. "If you ever came searching, I was to help you find her." My heart jumped. "She's alive?" Anna nodded slowly. "Yes, she's been waiting, living under a new name, far from here. She never stopped watching from a distance, never stopped loving you." The world blurred for a moment. After all these years, the questions, the silence, the pain, there was a path forward, a way to see her again. Anna handed me a small envelope. Inside was an address written in familiar handwriting. "She's ready," Anna said, smiling through tears. "Go to her." The drive to the coast felt like something out of a dream. I clutched the address in my hand, reading it over and over as if the ink might fade. The closer I got, the more memories returned: her laughter, the warmth of her embrace, the silence that had followed her disappearance. My chest ached with hope and fear. The small village by the sea was quiet, the kind of place where time moved slowly. Fishermen worked in the distance, children played near the docks, and the scent of salt water filled the air. I followed the winding path past cottages and tide-washed fences until I reached a small white house at the edge of a cliff. I stood there for a moment, trying to breathe. Then the door opened. There she was, older now, with lines that time had gently carved into her face, but still unmistakably her. My mother. The same soft eyes, the same gentle smile. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she whispered, "You came," and I ran into her arms. We held each other for a long time. No words, just tears. All the lost years collapsed into that one embrace. When we finally sat down, she explained everything. After going into hiding, she had built a new life under a new name, always watching from a distance to make sure I was safe. She never stopped writing letters she could never send, birthdays missed, school milestones, every heartbreak I'd faced without her. She carried them all. But now, things were different. Together we had enough evidence to expose what had driven her into hiding. With Anna's help and the documents we uncovered from the attic and journal, we approached the authorities. Investigations reopened, news stories broke, and one by one, those responsible for the threats, the silence, and the lies were brought to justice. It didn't erase the pain, but it gave it purpose, and something even more powerful grew in the aftermath. Healing. We began to rebuild, one day at a time. Slowly, I introduced her back into my life. She met my friends, saw where I lived, and even helped me plant a garden like the one we used to have when I was little. She didn't just come back into my life, she became my anchor again. Now, every morning when I see the ocean from her porch, I remember how far we've come. And every time I look at the heart-shaped locket she gave me, I'm reminded of the truth that changed everything. She never truly left. She had been protecting me all along. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. More powerful stories like the truth about my mother's disappearance are coming. True tales of mystery, hidden letters, lost family ties, and long-buried secrets. By subscribing, you'll be the first to hear the next chapter or dive into other emotional, life-changing stories that reveal the heart of every family. Your support helps us continue sharing meaningful stories that connect us all. So click that button, stay with us, and let's uncover these stories together.